You can't actually. They said zoning commission more reasonable than maybe would have to approve it. And I said, well, the skills of what you guys are supposed to. You know, this- Where's that? Yeah, well. I don't really got it. It's songs. You know, I need She could have been one of those. Sure. Drains. Yeah, just was because it's too hot, right? Oh, she's been over. Okay, so yeah. So you can't fix electric lawnmowers? Well, I bought one, the battery powered thing. I was like on sale. Close it out, so you got so cheap. I was like, how do you do it? I just got 50. Yeah. I have a battery sitting there charged. But it didn't. But the line, I did, the line, and you hit a button on the batteries and I'll show you one day. Five bars. Yeah. No, no, because battery.
Yeah.
You have to make sure that the thing is locked into place, Yes. And it is, it's locked into place, you know. Right. And I said, when I first priced it didn't go, it was, I had two batteries. I had a smaller one that I bought. So when I put the battery, then the 60 amp.
I haven't tried the, so you tried the other battery. Yeah.
Well, it did once and now.
Okay.
Now you want. It makes me say those words. Says I was excited. No more gas, no more oil. And I got it, smallest yard. Well, I don't know if I called you something. Because I.
Well, they might recommend.
But I can't make that motion. That's why ferocious less than that, plus I don't have. Yeah.
You don't have.
That's true. I bought it and. Has it been, no, I bought it at the end of this. Yeah. I call meeting to order, if you'd like to join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under proclamations, I would like to read the official proclamation for Tree City, USA. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special date to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, Becky Schamberg, Mayor of the City of Hiawatha, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2026 as Arbor Day in the City of Hiawatha. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. Anything else you need to add?
Nothing else I need to add there, no.
I entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any further discussions? Not Jane?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed for how many? 4-0. Is Brian here?
He was on it.
Oh, 4-0. I guess under public comments, petitions, memorials, I only had another go ahead and read this proclamation. Okay, we got it covered. Nothing under old business, so we're gonna move on to new business. Just rolling on through here. Item number 1, Angela Instrument and Joel Bacon proposals. So.
And we had submitted a few things. The biggest thing I think that we had discussed was, and I know we had this conversation with Brad, was that we were putting together a group of people who were just kind of coming together, different entities in Hiawatha, and just discussing what was going on. And with all of this, we stepped back and we thought, maybe we need to come to the city and see about how to partner with them. So we were looking at proposing a community advisory board, a volunteer group of residents and businessmen who serve as a bridge between the community and the city officials. The board would gather input on projects, policies, and provide recommendations and help with volunteer-driven initiatives that benefit the city. This board could provide several important benefits. It could open lines of communication between residents and city leadership, fostering trust and collaboration. Get valuable input on city initiatives from a diverse group of residents and business people. Volunteer support for events, programs, projects, helping in city engagement, and helping without adding staff workload. And we really truly feel it'd be stronger community engagement, giving residents a sense of ownership and pride in Hiawatha. Our thought was 5 to 10 residents or businessmen meeting monthly or quarterly, just kind of depending on what was going on in the city, 2-year terms. And it looks like, it's a participant in advising on projects, acting as ambassadors to encourage broader communication. Joel and I are happy to take on the responsibility of recruiting board members. We've already talked to several residents, business people, housing directors, and kind of reaching out to different people to get this started. I know we've had some conversations before this proposal got brought to the city with just bringing for people to the table on different things that were going on. And so that's one thing that, I don't know what your guys' questions are, but we truly feel this will kind of help with people who don't feel like they have that communication with the city and kind of trying to foster that relationship to go back and forth, so they have people to talk to. So. I don't know, any questions on any of that?
So you say 5 to 10 residents, are you going to be more specific on what, I mean, how you're going to have, I mean, just, because if all buddies, then you're.
No, we, like I said, we sat down and we had discussed what we did previously, and like I said, I had a conversation with Brad before we even did it. It was basically, it's 5 to 10 people who that's kind of, you know, that's their job, somebody to make sure that you're at the commission meeting, somebody to make sure you're talking about those friendships, those relationships and stuff. But it's all walks of life. It's, you know, like we had last week, you know, we had Billings and we had Noctigals and, you know, we had Tony Hall, we had all from all over. And then on top of that, bringing, you know, the housing department from Brown County in, to where they can give their input, because there's things that they'll look at and we wouldn't. Looking at just citizens who, you know, other than living here, you know, they don't have a business input, looking at businessmen who own stuff here in town. So it's basically getting, you know, contractors and businessmen and citizens and just people who are invested in working on the relationships with the city.
Well, Angela, we definitely, all of us have an open door policy, as does the city administrator. Anytime something's on the agenda, it's always open for public comment. But I think that this is a really good idea to improve the relationship with the community, to just open the door more. And I don't know who we would ask to fulfill that position from the city. But I think it's a good idea.
And what do we put as, I mean,
Well, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be a staff member. I mean, if there's somebody who's on the commission that would like to be the voice for the city, if that ends on that side.
It can really work any way that, you know, we want it to work, and it can be, I mean, I'm more than happy to do it myself, you know, I'm always willing to, you know, be that voice. But, you know, if we want to, you know, commissioners to be a part of this as well, you know, I'm more than happy to, you know, step back from that too, and, you know, maybe have, you know, one of my ideas was maybe we have a different commissioner, you know, attend, you know, when these meetings are being done. I see my side of this is making sure that, you know, this board would have a good idea what kind of projects we do have going on in the city. That way we can utilize some of that, you know, community knowledge in order to, you know, look at those projects and see how we can get things like that done. It's always good to get a fresh perspective on some of these things. And, you know, I'm not 100% expert on everything for sure. And, you know, we have a lot of community members that have a lot of experience doing, you know, a lot of different aspects. And so it's always good to get in, you know, get their input. And so I think this could be really beneficial. Like I said, I'm more than willing to be that point of contact if we wanted to, you know, rotate commissioners through as well. I think any way we do it, I think would be fine.
Well, and I guess my point of view is looking at, you know, with the stuff that came up, the amount of people who after the commission meetings, they come forward and they'll talk to people who have been up here talking, but they don't feel comfortable stepping up and talking. Or they have that reservation of, you know, what'll happen. And for us, talking to Rick Koenig outside, his vast knowledge that he brought in with working for the city for so many years and different things that he was able to educate us on. And just the different people that, you know, the way I look at something isn't the way you look at something. You know, you started with the city from the ground up, so you've seen it through all the different levels. Where, you know, I worked for the city, but also in on the rental side, so I see that side of it. Where a contractor who is going to see what I see as a landlord, but is going to see as somebody who's going into it on the business aspect of it. Or the housing authority who does 7 counties, including Brown County, and what they can bring to the table and give us the information. Or just, you know, like I said, or a business person, or, you know, just different avenues, but it was getting a vast array of people to the table and, you know, hey, we have this, you know, we have this person come and bring this idea or give us this information or anything, but You know, it's just like the airport board or all this other stuff. We understand that, you know, it's nothing more than just a recommendation and us giving you guys the information that we receive and talking back and forth and, you know, I guess in my opinion, the more heads in it, the better. And if you can get different berries out of Hiawatha and, you know, in the surrounding areas too. And, you know, we talked about fostering a relationship with Brown County. You know, truly, in my opinion, I think that we should have somebody from, you know, Brown County on there giving that information. You know, to me, it shouldn't be Hiawatha, Brown County. It should be how all of us together, because what we do in Hiawatha is gonna affect the county in general too. So just start fostering those relationships and putting it back together and asking the questions, because you guys, this isn't your full-time job, but everybody outside of this has full-time jobs. And how can we bring everybody to the table, and get more information without making the city's workload more? And for those that don't feel comfortable talking to people until they see, you know, what is out there, having that comfort measure that they do have, one of however many people that are on this board are able to go and have that conversation with.
So we'd have to have an ordinance, wouldn't we?
I don't think that we, I don't know that we would have to have anything special, since this isn't actually being handled within the city. I think that, you know, community members can do this, and we can just be a point of contact with them. Just kind of that source of communication. I don't know that we need anything here, like, we don't have to necessarily vote yes or no tonight or anything like that. There's really nothing to vote on.
No.
It's more just informational, you know.
Yeah, and we're not appointing people, I mean, that's gonna be.
Right,
That's, I mean, my encouragement is just that we get as diverse a group as possible.
exactly.
Cause it's really easy to, people with common goals, to be like, let's get together, well, then that's not really the point of it, we wanna
Right.
get a wide variety, so
Oh, believe me, we've had some conversations, and like I said, I told you that I came to Brad and I said previously, I said, hey, just so you know, we've got two different groups that we were looking at. And through some of the conversations, not everybody agreed, but sitting down and talking with all of them, it was interesting to see some of the information, because, you know, I don't look at it the same way. Laura looks at something, Laura doesn't always see the same way, but hearing that information, you get to see everybody's side of everything. So.
I just caught on the proposed structure, they appointed for 2-year terms. That would be your board appointing people for 2 years.
Right, yeah. Well, and we talked about doing the 1 year, and it was one of those things that, you know, starting at 1 year, by the time you get the information and get things started, are you really getting anywhere in 1 year? You know, where, you know, with the 2 year, you know, you get into projects, you get the follow through, you get all the information. But I would rather partner with the city on doing something like this than continue, because when I had that conversation with you, hey, I don't want you to hear, and I don't want you to think that this is something we're doing behind your back, that, you know, we're ganging up on people. We're not. It was just one of those taking the things that were before us. As you can see, there's been a few things that I put on for this evening, and having those conversations, you know, what's your opinion, what's my opinion, and it's just like the trash service conversation for tonight. I've had 50 different million opinions on it, and I can see both sides of it. But on the flip side of it, you know, there's two sides to all of it, which is the best, and no matter what you do, nobody's gonna be 100% happy. But I just thought this gave a little bit more of an outlet to bring all different kinds of people to the table, including the city, including people from the county, from the community, and just starting the conversations.
So I would say the next step is that you just work on getting what this group is going to be and see when the first meeting is, and then we'll just decide as a commission if Brad is gonna attend it or one of us.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know that there's anything anything else official we have to do.
Well, like I said, my big thing with bringing it to the city is I'd rather look at it as a partnership with the city. That's just giving you guys, you know, our 2 cents, whether it goes anywhere or not, you know, it's just giving that information and seeing all the different perspectives on it.
And you know how it goes, where you just have to sign up and say that, hey, we've met a couple times, we'd like to come and present to the city. Absolutely.
Good idea.
The police department had a similar group some years ago, they only had 2 or 3 people on it, but get together and talk about stuff.
Well, and that was our thought was, you know, we talked about, you know, doing just a couple members, or like, just through the conversations here recently, you know, when you have your contractors and you have your businessmen and you have your just next door neighbor, and there's just so many different opinions, and there's so many different ways to look at things, and I think you guys, get the brunt of it, honestly, I'll put it that way, you know, and like I said, this isn't your full-time job. And people, unfortunately, like I said, don't always feel comfortable with, you know, coming and talking, and sometimes it's intimidating. So for us, and that's been my big thing when people have said stuff, you know, one person can stand here in front of the commission and have a conversation. But if there's not several people here backing the conversation, saying, hey, we all support this, you know, is one person gonna be able to make a change, or is one voice gonna be able to be heard? You know, take it in either direction, so.
I think it's a great idea, I really do, and I like the way that you're structuring it, and that you're trying to get people from diverse backgrounds and that sort of thing. I think that'd be great. So, this is something we would need a vote on. Brian, did you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I think it sounds great.
Yeah, no, nothing to vote on. It just once the board is formed, discuss on, you know, who's going to be attending, you know, those meetings or how we're going.
Sounds good.
Okay. The next thing we have was trash service. Well, this is where it's gonna kind of get dicey. We propose that the city consider putting out bids for residential trash service and managing as a citywide contract with the cost included as part of the monthly water bill. Currently, residents use a variety of private trash haulers, which means we have multiple garbage trucks traveling the same streets throughout the week, often 4 to 5 times. In the same neighborhoods. I know in my area, on Mondays, we have 2 that go through, Tuesday, Wednesday, I know we have 1, Thursday, we have 2. This repeated heavy traffic, is continuing to, cause significant wear and tear on our city streets, and over time, this kind of usage accelerates the deterioration and becomes difficult for the city to keep up with its necessary maintenance and repairs. By moving to city managed contract with a single provider, we could significantly reduce the number of trucks on our streets, limiting collection to 1 scheduled day per area. This would help protect our road infrastructure while also improving efficiency. And, you know, the biggest thing that we have also heard too is the trash services that collect in the alley. The citizens are responsible for the alleys to be maintained. And when you have trash trucks going down some of those alleys 2 or 3 days a week, those alleys are getting tore up. But yet, if that citizen doesn't use that trash service, or they put that trash service out front, why are they having to pay for these heavy vehicles to continue to go up and down? We also encourage that, you know, the city implement something, if they do look at this, that, you know, if trash service is on Monday, you know, trash cans are brought back in by Tuesday morning. I know it's hard to pick and choose, but after speaking with people like in Fortin, you know, not everybody agrees, but they have said that they have seen a huge improvement, and if you're paying for it, you go ahead and use it. You still have some individuals who they don't, and no matter what you do, they're not going to. But it has helped clean up their city quite a little bit, and if you look at the different numbers and stuff, you know, cities that tend to get a discount, but they can help pass on to their citizens by doing bulk pickups. So it's just our idea, you know, with roads being a big issue, wear and tear on alleys and stuff like that, this could be something that the city could look at and help with some of that.
I think it's about 3 years ago that this was actually brought up to the commission. One of the former city administrators, might have been a little bit longer even, brought this up in the current makeup of the makeup of the commission then, it didn't really go any further. I'm not opposed to it. I like the idea that it comes with a water bill and that everybody has to use the service, and so it does clean up the city, but I don't know what the rest of you think about it, because like I said, I remember specifically talking about it. It didn't go any further.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I said, I know just talking with some of those cities that have done this, the savings by doing the bulk, have been able to be passed along, and then, like I said, the wear and tear on the streets and the alleys both.
I think there were concerns for people who, like single homes who didn't have much trash, there was concern, are they gonna end up paying more on their water bill as opposed to, you know, that was one of the concerns, and like I said.
If you look at what the city of Portland's rates are, if we walk in something like that, that's what they're charging the current senior rates for most of the trash services here in the area. So what seniors are currently being charged, or what citizens are being charged on their water bill for.
Where does the city of Horton have?
They had, out of Falls City. Hamilton, but I know they put it back up for bid, and I don't know, if they got the current bid or not.
For some reason, I thought that was brought up several years ago, and then it went a little further in that the commission had conversation with the vendors to see who would be interested in putting in bids, and they didn't act like it was gonna work out for them at that time, so.
I know I've talked to two of the vendors, that I won't throw names out there, but I know that they both said that they would be interested in entertaining putting in bids for the city.
And I remember that one of the big hangups at that point was the fact that a lot of residents will sign 1-year contracts with pay for a year up front. And so we had to figure out how to deal with that. I know that there would be a lot of details that would go into something like this, getting a proposal together on even how we would move forward. I would have to reach out to the cities like Horton or cities that have done this, reach out to the trash providers and see, how we would do that moving forward, or even what that would look like in Hiawatha. I mean, you could build that program to, whatever works for the city, but there'd be a lot of details involved with that, so. But I think that was kind of one of the hangups back then, if I remember right. Was that people do pay for a year upfront typically, so.
And now stated that discount, you pay the 11 month and you get the 12 month for free, and it kind of seems like, if I remember correctly, what some of the other cities did was when they started putting out the bids and stuff like that, it was one of those giving people the heads up, that this is what we're moving towards, so when their bills did come up, that's what it looked like, but I do know driving through Horton, if you take a look, I mean, things have cleaned up quite a little bit, and like I said, just because it's on the water bill doesn't mean everybody will use it, but they're more apt to use it if it's something that we're already paying for. So,
I like the idea.
I think it would definitely help it, those trucks are heavy, and it's,
Well, I like the idea that it's gonna push people that don't have trash service to use trash service. Cause you're right, they're paying for it, so why wouldn't they use it?
well, I do know, like, on, with housing and stuff like that, that they take people who receive housing assistance, with them, they look at the different utilities and stuff like that, and with that already being on the city bill, that's something that they can take into account for that household instead of being a separate line item, because depending on the housing developments, whether or not they include that. So, but I don't know what days, we have the city pickups, and then, we have this different day that they come and they do the downtown trash cans, and they go out and they do. So I mean, 5 days out of the week, we have a minimum of one, if not multiple trash trucks in town doing a pickup on our roads.
These are the exact same things that were brought up before, so.
I think it'd be worth investigating it up and down.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be.
I
It would
can,
help with the accumulation, and we've got people storing trash in the back of the trailers, and, the police are busy enough with nuisance abatement, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Trash
It will cut some of that down.
Well, I just think even, this is a little side thing, but if you drive through Horton, all the trash cans are the same. It's just that neatness, that uniformity that, when you drive through town, it's just a trash can, but to me, it's a trash can, so.
Yeah, I like the idea of just having one set of trucks driving around and not driving through the island. I always never did think that was a good idea myself, but I like to know how much more work that'll be for our city staff though too.
okay,
So there's really nothing we need to vote on yet, it's just that you're
no,
gonna.
I need to get a lot more information on that before we. Yeah, I also think it's a good idea. I think that we discussed it internally here for a while, and we've been having discussions on and off for the past, 2 years like this, so.
So let's take it a step further and do a lot of research on it. When we have time, and get your hands full right now.
I can get that.
Were there
I just-
any other public comments to go along with this, with?
I'd just like to add something on that. I don't know if there's one single provider that's big enough to actually support the whole town. We might have to think about like splitting the town in half. I don't have a strong opinion on this right now. Either way, I do see value in it, keeping keeping the truck traffic down in the alleys, and that is a problem, but I think it's gonna be controversial. And honestly, I think we've got bigger fish to fry right now. I don't really want to add anything until we kind of stabilize the things that we have cooking right now. So that's just my opinion on it. I don't have a problem looking into it farther, but like Dave said, it is gonna take more time out of city employees with it being added. Uh, I have had people say that they have a business and they take their trash to their business and throw it away. So, they're gonna kind of be paying more. Again, it's just gonna be a controversial thing, and I think that we have enough problems going right now that this should just maybe be addressed at a later date, like it kind of is going to be, but I don't want to get too wrapped up in it right now.
I guess Brad wants to stress that you know what you have time to put into it, so. Thank you.
Thank you. Good ideas.
Well, that's for updates.
Okay, moving on to item 2, Mike Bear, I mispronounced it. Barr, sorry about that.
No.
Airport property proposal, so you come up.
Thought I'd, put my face before you, because you might have seen some paperwork before. I wasn't born and raised in this community. I landed here in February of 2025. And, started to get to work on what my next step in life was gonna be. I've been looking for land for a bit. I came here, immediately opened up a drone, crop surveying, using a multispectral drone. And then near the end of last season, I decided to add spray drone services. So, I needed more space. And so I started, looking for properties and talking to folks, and, Brad Scott and I had some conversations, and, I was actually looking at a different property, and he suggested the airport. I thought, holy cats, that seems to make some good sense. The airport to me is something of a forgotten asset. And I'd like to see that come back, and I know that someone's recladding the current hangars out there right now, and, I think there's an opportunity to do more with the airport for the community. And in a past life, back when dinosaurs roamed this area, I sat on the Milwaukee Airport Economic Development Commission and spent some time there understanding how airports can contribute to the local economy. And I think there's some things that we could do there, and I'd like to be one of the first in to help make that happen. So Brad suggested this property. I've been walking it in all kinds of weather, and I have new shoes. And I think it would be a good location for both the businesses. Currently, the two businesses that I'd like to plant there is the drone services business. So providing custom drone spraying, seeding, and spreading services. I'm also a dealer for a company called Revolution Drones. It's another drone manufacturer. And then also providing crop scouting services, and combining crop scouting with spot application has many benefits for farmers, including lowering the costs, and lowering input costs is good. I myself am responsible for a large farm on Missouri Bottoms and Donovan, and I understand directly what every dollar spent on fertilizer does for you, especially now. So that's the first business. I have some ideas about a building I'd like to erect there on 4.5 acres. And I think that this provides opportunities to engage with primary schools. I'm already on the advisory committee for 2 different programs at community, or the Highland Community College. And, I can work with them. I think this could become a location to go for class field trips and hands-on learning activities for kids and talk about other career opportunities. You don't have to leave Hiawatha to get involved with technology or something. You can do it right here and stay on a family farm. And then the other business, which is very much more of a long shot, is creating hydrogen on the site. And to accomplish that, I first have to create a market, so I have to create buzz on the potential hydrogen consumers. So that's a big lift, and I don't know that I'll ever get there, but that's the idea, is that I could start with a test production line in the drone building, and then if it were to take off, if I prove the economics of it, then that might expand to another adjacent building. And it might expand to additional buildings on that site or adjacent sites. And ideally, if that does take off, then there'd also be a play for turning the hydrogen into anhydrous ammonia and urea. And that then would probably get duplicated through the co-op structure into other counties. So there's a lot to do to get that one going. The drone operation's up and running now. And the other one is a much longer term investment. But I just wanted to come and say that I'm here, I'm a real person. I might talk funny because I'm from Wisconsin. But you should listen to yourself, Doctor. And I want to answer any questions you might have. I was wondering if you've investigated the utilities that are out there. You're gonna need sewer, water, and probably a lot of natural gas if you're gonna make hydrogen. It's a different process for hydrogen. Okay. Yeah. And I've done chemistry, so sorry. Hydrogen. We're using a different process for hydrogen, which has got a patent pending on it. So, I haven't done a deep dive except to note that 3-phase is available not too far away, 3-phase power. And water appears to go through the site. And I'm assuming that sewer, I'd have to do a pond or something right on the site. I'm not that worried about natural gas. Okay. I was reading up on some of the links you provided on, I guess there's different ways to make hydrogen. I didn't know which method you picked, but I knew natural gas was one of them. Yeah. I'm being a little mysterious about which way we're doing.
And do you have a time frame in mind where you hope that part, or is it right now just kind of pie in the sky that that's what you're looking towards, but?
Well, I'm working with some people that are moved. They've moved the process from the lab into a prototype machine. And that prototype is operational, and it's not in the US right now. And so we'd have to find ways to bring it in the US, which is a big deal. And then the bigger issue is the operating cost. So it's kind of up to me to build the market first. So I've been looking at hydrogen use in aerial drones, in farm equipment and construction equipment. All the big manufacturers of equipment have announced that they have field trials of these things, and actually have shipping tractors in Europe that are hydrogen powered. So the funny obstacle is we know how to create hydrogen through many different ways. We know how to use it in many different ways, but getting those two things to exist nearby, it is tough. And so it's that infrastructure that I'm proposing we solve with many little different producers of hydrogen scattered around. And I have to pitch that first. And I haven't wanted to do that until I had an address.
So your proposal right now would be to purchase the 4.5 acres and then later look at the other 7 and then the other one that you mentioned.
And so I know on this, that, I've been talking with Mike for a good long while, and there's at least some, probably the middle of last year, 2025, I would say. On some different proposals. Mike's done a significant amount of work, as I pointed out, by Action and Corey, we're talking to the FAA, talking to KDOT. Seeing what different regulations are, and so, I believe that he did an initial title search on that property as well. Going through those steps that we would need in order to make that sale final. We would just need to continue to go through those steps to make sure that there's no weird FAA rules. I don't believe that to be the case at this point. In my conversations with the FAA that I've had personally, I don't think that Mike's had anything like that happen either. So we would just need to keep that process moving forward, as far as figuring out what all that is in order to, get this done.
And then is there a time frame on how long he would be able to have that option to purchase the additional? Because the way it's written, it says that you have an option to purchase it 7 and a 1.1 acre for the same price as $1,000. I mean, do we put a time sunset on that, or is it just?
I'm sure that we can cut through all those details and the final sale and all that, or the final contract, that can all be done in negotiation. As far as what that sale actually looks like.
Do you need to use the runways, or I assume you'll have a trailer, or somebody hires your services, you'll go out with a trailer of your drones and.
That's the near term. I'm anxious to be able to connect to the east-west, I don't know what number that is, but that runway, which I understand needs some help. Once the FAA passes the beyond visual line of sight rules, we ought to be able to come in with larger fixed wing drones that can cover more acres more effectively. And in that instance, having direct access to that runway would be really great. So that's a desire.
So we don't see any concerns with it interfering with the runway.
Not at this time, not at this time, and I would think conversations that, Mike's had with the FAA, not the conversations I have. They have certain requirements that are high requirements, things like that, with buildings, certain setbacks off the runways. A lot of those things have already been explored. And so we know what those requirements are. We just have to make sure that there's nothing else, no weird legalities that we don't know about right now, but that'll all come out through this process anyway.
I love the idea that this could be something where our students go up there and,
Mhm.
you start bringing in the larger drones that fixed on, I mean, that's a neat thing.
The smallest of my large drones can lift 175 pounds. And it's a little unreal. The largest one's over 650 pounds. So,
So I'm not buying this at Walmart in the back.
no,
Just
Probably. Not yet. But yeah, I think it's a great career path. And this gets into agronomy, it gets into, crossover farming and technology, it's a bunch of things all at once that I think are really, really useful in this area.
Mike, I'd just like to say, you have my full support on this. I think, as the FAA releases, or comes up with ways to manage drones more and more, this is going to get bigger and bigger over the next 10 years. I think our airport is kind of unique in some ways that it will be perfect for catering for drones and for the area, with it being a small grass strip. So I think this is a great opportunity for Hiawatha, and it's exactly what we need to do. We need to do everything we can to make sure that this works out for you. And thank you for even considering to do this in Hiawatha. I would also like to say that, now that we're talking about the airport, we really need to get a roller on that runway. Those guys are gonna be using it this year. I know this doesn't pertain much to what Mike's gonna be doing, but we need to get the roller on that runway.
Yeah, I agree, and now it's probably a good time to do that, especially after the moisture that we've had. I think now would be a great time to get that done.
So Brad, what do you need from us?
I just need, I mean, I think that my recommended action is to consider the purchase proposal for Bank Bar and approve moving forward contingent on all legal requirements being met for the sale of property. So I just kind of approve moving forward, like, is it? I would like to keep this moving. I think you wanted this to close by August, I believe. So I'd like to keep this moving forward as, as quickly as we can. Like, kind of keep this on our radar, every meeting if we have to, and start down those negotiations and, see what we need to do there to get this done.
Have we had any movement on the approach off of the highway? With KDOT?
Yes. It appears, according to the KDOT rep, we have a 95% chance that it will be approved when we formally submit. And, Brad was gonna formally submit, and I pulled him back, said, no, let me do it. But actually, when I was driving over here, I was thinking about that again, so we should talk tomorrow. But, it looks like it's gonna be okay.
Perfect. Good to hear.
I entertain a motion.
Motion to authorize Brad to proceed with, negotiations to move forward with purchase of this property at the airport for Michael Barr for the growing business. That covered?
Yep, that covers it.
I'll second it.
It's been moved to second to, as Dave said, for the discussion. Not, Jane, or is there anything we need to talk about? Or I guess I forgot to ask if there's any public comment first. Really tight, so. Okay. Jane, we're ready for you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. Thank you very much, Mike. I'm excited about this.
Thank you all. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Good luck to us all.
Yeah. And moving on to item 3, 829.5 and 829 rezoning ordinances. Brad?
And so, yes, the ordinance that you have before you is the Board of Zoning Appeals heard a case from Mount Pause. And he wants to rezone 829 and 829 in House Origin from I-1 light industrial to R2 residential medium density. The Board of Zoning Appeals voted unanimously on this. They did not see any problems. We didn't have any problem with it at the time. And so my recommended action is approve ordinance 2146, approving the rezone of the properties located at 829 and 829 Apple Oregon from I-1 to R2.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2146, approving the rezoning of the properties located in 829 and 829.5 Oregon from I-1 to R2.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 2146. Is there any public comment? Okay, any other questions or comments from the commission? Hey, Jane?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. How long, Brad?
Let's do 10 minutes here.
I'd like to make a motion that the city commission recess into executive session in the conference room for a period of 10 minutes to discuss matters regarding an issue of potential city personnel. Justification for closing the meeting is to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. The open meeting will resume at 6:30. In the commission chambers, and to include the commission, city administrator, and city attorney.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Jane?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passed 5-0.
Business reading is the old one thing about.
The recording is still on. I'm just letting everyone know.
Recording.
The recording is.
Yeah. I wish I weren't gonna deal with one thing at a time.
At 6:32, the city commission is called back into an open meeting. The commission took no binding action during executive session.
Yes.
Been moved and seconded. Jane?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion passed 5-0. I would like to make a motion to appoint David Nueva as the Hiawatha Police Chief. Villanueva. Sorry, I'm working on it.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments from the public?
Who is it?
Who is it?
Who is he?
Is
he from here or is he from
Yeah, from Salina.
I'm sorry.
He's from Salina. We will have a press release on paper about who he is.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah, that's a long job.
We're excited now, so, any further comments? Jane?
All in favor?
Aye. Motion passed 5-0. Moving on to communications, Brad, anything else?
Well, we just have the fire around the junction for other metro.
Okay, governing body comments, I have none at the time. Dave,
I don't have anything.
Tom,
I don't have anything.
Brian,
Um, well, wait, there was a comment about that someone wanted to make about the trash service. Is it too late to make a comment about that?
For you to make a comment?
No.
no,
I would like to, if I missed my opportunity, I didn't hear you guys ask for public input. Or public,
I mean, I have no problem with that, because it is, since it's part of our agenda, I mean, I'm okay with that. If there was something totally separate, you would have had to, you know.
Okay.
and so.
okay. I'm Darren Bowerly, and I do believe that this is a concern. I've had several, communications with Brad. I went through this in my own alley this last month. We have had to redo our complete sewer system. These trucks going up and down these alleys empty. Do any of you have an idea what they weigh?
A
Empty?
lot.
A lot, you're correct.
And
A lot.
I don't know how much they weigh, but
Okay, I did some research and found documentation, information about the tile lines that are buried in your sewer lines in the alleys. Cannot take the weight of these trucks that are going up and down these alleys, okay? I travel quite a bit with my job, and I spend a lot of Airbnbs, and the places have trash services that we have to take out, like Tuesday of every week. Every place that I've stayed in, the trash truck runs on concrete, asphalt, or brick roads. No place have I stayed on do they go down gravel alleys, what we have in town here. These trucks weigh 20,000 pounds empty and can weigh as much as 65,000 pounds full. Okay, that compaction is going down your alleys and going to break, as it did at my house, the sewer line going into the ground, into the main. And I have been faced with a large bill. I won't give specific numbers, but Brad and I have been in communication about it. It's a large amount of money. Okay, you have a problem with this because it's not just mine. In my alley alone, there's been 4 houses. There's been more than that, as I've talked to other people in town that have had these people come in and fix these sewer lines. So I would ask that we not just sweep this under the table. This is a serious matter that needs to be addressed within our city so that you don't have sewer lines continuing to break and your citizens having to pay the type of bill that I'm had to pay to get my sewer fixed. Okay, part of being on the board is for us to dig into, and I'm willing to, I told Brad, anytime I can help as a citizen, I'm willing to help. Okay, the information is out there. We need to find out before we just continually let these people driving trucks. They're not gonna like it because it's not gonna make their jobs as easy. I fully support what they're talking about as far as coming up with a service that we all can help pay for and get it taken care of to beautify the city. I have people that have hauled trash to my business and dumped trash in my business dumpster. Okay, I haven't said anything. I've been trying to be quiet, and just be a good citizen, but at this point, we do we do need to address it. It doesn't need to get swept under the carpet and forgotten about. We need to address it. Because you will continue to have citizens that will have to go through what I've had to go through in the last couple of weeks here.
Well, I appreciate your insight on this, so.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hey, Brian, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. I just, want to know when we're putting out the stoplight for bid.
We did actually receive the last easement today. I have got with SBB, engineering about that. They're supposed to be, they're getting back to me on getting that bid packet together, and so I would say within the next couple of weeks, we'll be out to bid on those.
Okay, thank you.
I don't have anything, thank you.
I didn't see any. Totally. Is there a motion to adjourn?
But we adjourn.
Second. Moving to second to adjourn. All in favor?
All right.
All opposed? I just gave it a form. And you. Now, do I go home and mow my lawn, my gas mower, that's it.
All of